Swords, guns, and bombs. Yeah, that's basic. Humans have been finding creative ways to delete each other since we crawled out of the primordial soup and said, what if we made this rock sharper? But some weapons in history went beyond creative and straight into what was humanity smoking territory. So today, we're counting down 10 of the most unhinged, bizarre, and downright ridiculous weapons ever invented. Number 1. Curved gun barrel. Wile Coyote sniper rifle. You know that scene in Wanted where they curve bullets around corners? Well, in World War II, the Nazis thought, yeah, let's do that. For real. They created the Krumlauf, a curved barrel attachment for their STG-44 assault rifles. The goal was simple, shoot enemies without exposing yourself, because apparently peeking was too mainstream. But there was a slight issue. Bullets don't like turning corners. When fired, the bullets ricocheted against the inside of the barrel, shredding themselves into high-speed metal confetti. Soldiers reported the gun shaking violently, cracking and sometimes exploding. So it kinda worked, if your plan was to take out the enemy and your own face. Oh, and they even tried mounting one on tanks so gunners could shoot from inside the vehicle. Spoiler, it melted itself after a few hundred rounds. Basically, this thing was the historical equivalent of trying to build a lightsaber out of a flashlight in a dream. Number 2. The armored elephant. Medieval tank, but with tusks. Forget horses, ancient armies wanted something bigger, louder, and capable of turning a battlefield into a stampede. Enter the armored war elephant. From India and Persia to Carthage and Southeast Asia, elephants were decked out in metal plate, chainmail, and leather barding that made them look like medieval mechs. Commanders even built wooden towers on their backs called howdahs, where archers could rain down arrows like it was a mobile sniper nest. These beasts weren't just weapons, they were psychological warfare on legs. Imagine being a poor foot soldier and hearing the ground shake before a literal wall of tusks, steel, and screaming riders charges you. Horses panic, men scattered, and morale instantly disappeared. But it wasn't all smooth charging. These guys were basically early tanks with feelings. If they got scared, angry, or injured, they'd turn around and trample their own army like, "Sorry, I'm having a bad day." Eventually, gunpowder ruined the party. Cannonballs didn't care how fancy your armor was. After a few elephant puree incidents, most armies retired their living tanks. But for centuries, they ruled the battlefield. Half animal, half legend, and 100% nightmare fuel. Number 3. Dog bombs. When good boy went boom. Okay, dog lovers, I warned you. This one's rough. Literally. During World War II, the Soviets came up with anti-tank dogs. They trained them to crawl under Nazi tanks with bombs strapped to their backs. Once the dog went under, a lever triggered the explosion. Simple, efficient, and horrifying. Except there was one big problem. Dogs don't understand war. When the battle got loud and chaotic, many of them panicked and ran back to their trainers. Yeah, you can see how that went wrong. Even worse, the dogs had been trained with Soviet tanks, so they sometimes ran under the wrong side's vehicle, blowing up their own guys instead. Despite destroying around 300 German tanks, the project was abandoned after everyone realized, wait, this is just evil Scooby-Doo. A tragic example of how desperation in war can make people lose their minds and their best friends. Number 4. The gay bomb, when science turned into a college prank. In 1994, the U.S. Air Force's Wright Laboratory seriously proposed a gay bomb. The idea? Drop a cloud of pheromones and aphrodisiac chemicals on enemy soldiers so they'd suddenly become too busy flirting to fight. That's not a joke. It was an official proposal with a 6-figure research budget request. It's like someone at the Pentagon watched one too many Saturday Night Live sketches and said, "Yep, that's our next big weapon." They wanted to make a non-lethal bomb that could disrupt morale by making troops sexually attracted to one another. Ignoring the fact that there's no chemical that changes orientation, this plan would have just created the world's first really confusing battlefield. And historically speaking, that wouldn't have helped much. Armies like the Spartans and the Thebans already fought with their lovers, and they were terrifyingly effective. So yeah, the gay bomb would have probably turned your enemies into better soldiers. We may never know what they were thinking, but thank goodness it stayed in the file marked ideas we don't talk about. Number 5. The Bagh Nakh, Wolverine's cousin. Before brass knuckles and switchblades, India's had the Bagh Nakh, or tiger claw. It was basically 5 curved blades attached to a crossbar that slipped over your fingers, letting you slice and dice like Wolverine on a caffeine rush. Designed for stealth and speed, it could rip through flesh with a single swipe, a favorite among assassins who didn't want to show up swinging a sword. Legend says the Maratha warrior Shivaji even used one to defeat his armored enemy, Afzal Khan, by slashing him through his chainmail mid-handshake. That's not just a weapon, that's petty warfare at its finest. It's sleek, silent, and terrifyingly practical. Basically the 17th century version of saying, "These hands are rated E for everyone." Number 6. Quicklime, the medieval acid attack. What do you get when you mix science, oysters, and murder? Medieval chemistry class, baby. Quicklime, made by heating limestone or oyster shells, was used as an early chemical weapon. When it touches water, it releases intense heat and turns into a caustic paste that burned through skin, eyes, and lungs. Defenders would pour boiling quicklime onto attackers climbing their walls. Imagine charging a castle and suddenly getting hit with medieval hot acid snow. You're blind, you're on fire, and your armor's cooking you alive. Some sources say sailors even used quicklime in naval battles, tossing it overboard so it would mix with seawater and burn the faces of boarding enemies. It wasn't elegant, but it was effective. Medieval warfare, come for the swords, stay for the chemical burns. Number 7. Bat bombs, Batman's worst crossover. War brings out creativity and sometimes way too much of it. In World War II, a U.S. dentist named Dr. Little S. Adams proposed Project X-Ray, a plan to attach tiny timed explosives to bats and drop them over Japanese cities. The logic? Bats would roost inside wooden buildings, and when their little bombs went off, the city would go up in flames. Testing started with 6,000 bats. Sounds crazy, right? It gets better. During one test, a few bats escaped and promptly burned out part of the U.S. Air Force's own testing facility. Imagine explaining that insurance claim. The bats did it. Eventually, the project was scrapped when someone said, "Why don't we just use that new thing called the atomic bomb instead?" Good call. But somewhere out there, a tiny bat still dreams of vengeance. Number 8. Flaming pigs, the Roman barbecue nobody asked for. War elephants were terrifying, unless you had bacon. Roman and Greek armies supposedly used flaming pigs to scare enemy elephants. They'd coat the pigs in tar or oil, set them on fire, and send them squealing at the oncoming elephants. The smell, sound, and sight of burning pigs were enough to freak out the elephants and send them stampeding away. Did it work? Maybe. Was it horrifying? Absolutely. Ancient texts mention it, but historians argue it might have been exaggerated propaganda. Still, the image of a herd of fiery pigs charging into battle is burned into history. Literally. It's either genius psychological warfare or the world's worst luau. Number 9. Archimedes' Death Ray, the OG laser beam. Archimedes wasn't just a math nerd yelling, "Eureka!" in the bathtub. He was ancient Greece's answer to Tony Stark. When the Romans attacked Syracuse around 214 BCE, legend says Archimedes designed a solar death ray, a set of bronze mirrors angled to reflect sunlight and ignite enemy ships. It's an amazing story, a bunch of Greeks with mirrors setting boats on fire like human magnifying glasses. But does it actually work? Modern tests, including Mythbusters, tried it. Turns out, not really. You'd need dozens of mirrors, perfect sunlight, and the patience of a saint. Still, the concept was so ahead of its time that it inspired scientists for centuries. So even if it never lit a ship on fire, Archimedes did prove one thing. He was ready to invent the laser 2,000 years early. Number 10. Greek fire. The water makes it worst weapon. You know it's serious when water becomes your enemy. The Byzantine secret sauce, Greek fire, was an ancient napalm that burned even on water. They kept the formula so secret that it's still lost today. But we know it probably involved petroleum, resin, and quicklime. They shot it through bronze siphons shaped like dragon heads, launched it in jars, or even used flamethrowers on ships. It stuck to everything, decks, sails, human skin, and couldn't be put out. The only way to stop it was to smother it completely, or die trying. Greek fire turned Byzantine navy into floating demons of destruction for centuries. And honestly, it makes modern flamethrowers look like birthday candles. From bullet-bending guns to bacon-based warfare, history has shown us one undeniable truth. Humans will weaponize absolutely anything. We've turned elephants into tanks, bats into bombers, and literal chemistry homework into face-melting defense systems. So the next time you think people today are weird, just remember, someone in the past thought, let's strap a firebomb to a pig. Which of these ridiculous weapons is your favorite? Let us know in the comments. Drop a like before your keyboard catches Greek fire. And subscribe for more What Were They Thinking? Moments from history. Until next time, this has been This History Goat, signing off before someone arms a Roomba.